He's just there, but he's there.
I'm here. Hold on.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, good.
Good.
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Right.
I'll just explain what's going to happen.
Yes.
I believe Sue's got your PDF presesentation.
She has. Yes.
Okay, so what she'll do is take that through as you ask.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is you've got 30 minutes for
Indeed. Right.
a presentation. What
Yeah.
I'll do is I'll give you a quick nod when there's 5 minutes left, so you just know that your time's coming to an end.
Right.
And then at the end of your presentation, members will have hopefully a number of questions for you, and we can go for a Q&A session for the remaining half hour. Is that okay?
That's fine. Can you not see me? Hello?
No, can't. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me just see why that is. You should be able to see me.
Okay, well,
your camera's turned off.
Ah, is it? Let me... Ah, yes, sorry. Yes, here it is. It is. No, it goes. There we go. Here comes ugly. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm there.
Okay. And anybody, I can't personally see you at the moment, but I'm sure you're there.
I'm here.
Let's have a look.
Yes.
Yes, I can see him.
Yeah, I'm here.
Right, okay, good.
Hard luck. There you go.
I'll ask Sue if she can share your presentation.
Fine.
For you. So just bear with us a moment. Right. So
here we go.
Okay, so basically, if as you want to scroll, I think we've got 13 pages there. So
that's right. Well, let's go. Obviously, past the first page to the second page, and I'm going to scroll down to mine as well. Right now, just about what One Bognor is. One Bognor Society. It's very simply there. It's been around a few years now. It's had various incarnations. It has a web page. It has a Facebook page, and it runs the Bognor Regis Herald. And the idea of One Bognor is to enable ideas and discussion on the future of Bognor Regis is governance and regeneration. And by Bognor, I mean the broader area, the urban area, urban parishes of Aldwick, Bursted, Bognor Town, Felpham, Middleton and Pagham. And it's got a very large population of 63,000 residents. So anyone who wants to follow those things on, I've sent this presentation to members anyway, so they can actually look those links up as well. Now, I now move down to the purpose of regeneration. We all think, I think we all know there's about the decline of the share visitor market and a lot of other well understood issues which need some positive action to address them. And I have to say straight away, I don't think there is just one answer fits all. However, I think there is a choice to go with major schemes or a potpourri of things, and I'll come back to that later. But we've had a successive failed regeneration redevelopment approaches. There's been consultant reports, lack of progress, and now, of course, the COVID situation, which presents challenges, but also I think it presents some opportunities. So if we're looking at the post-pandemic landscape, we're already reading a good deal now about staycations as an upcoming sort of issue for British resorts and destinations. This is reasonably well understood, and we can see already that bookings at Butlins appear to be going very well, and their the prices they're able to charge are going very well indeed. So they're predicted to rise sharply in the coming months and years. So from where and I've been here, since 1979, I'd say that Bognor's location, access, climate topography and so much else, and its history, puts it in a very good position to achieve a very substantial regeneration post-COVID. And I've discussed this with various people, and I think there is now an understanding that this could be, funnily enough, that this could be Bognor's moment. Other places will not do as well as we do, simply because we've got the best climate, we've got reasonable sort of access, and a lot of very good nearby features. So, you know, Bognor is not only a traditional seaside resort, it's, I think, an up-and-coming resort as well. So if let's have a look, right, so let's say that the Regeneration is here now at this point to move us forward using, I think, the two major sites in Arun's ownership. And once those have been properly sorted out, I believe we can then say other things will start to happen. Other people will want to take notice. What success will beget success. So I think everyone can appreciate that. Now, let's go to actually the proposals now, which is on the next page. Now these they're not all my ideas, but one or two people asked me to put their ideas in this one. I'll be perfectly open about it. These are not mainstream regeneration ideas. These are much more, in my view, things that would go well and ought to be taken on board with a very successful regeneration main project. You know, I think, councillors, that I happen to think, and have thought so since 2014, that Project Sunrise is it. And I'm not going to argue for them tonight. They can do their own dirty work next week. As far as I'm concerned, they're the ones who set the bar, and are the ones who need to be sort of, if you're going to do anything, that you've got to really say, will it be better than that? We can have a discussion about that. But I also believe we should be looking at the master plan right back to 2003, saying, A, is it fit for purpose? But also, if it is, in my view, you have to say that the two main sites in Arun's ownership were always conceived to be linked. Cross-subsidy was always a major issue. From the time I was a district councillor, which I even had the honour of being a group leader at one point, you know, the idea was that the two sites would cross-subsidise. Now, as you know, the planning inspector made it very clear that she thought that the cross-subsidy could work in both directions. But again, that's someone else's argument. Let's now go to the next page. And these are the individual schemes. Right, the town hall is a community hub and a civic row being created in Belmont Street, along with something else which I'll come to later. The town hall is a Grade 2 listed building. I happen to know that there is someone who will want to take this on, will buy it from Arun for whatever price. I reckon 650 to 750k, money in Arun's pocket at the time it needs it, and would do as a Grade 2 listed, would improve it, and lease back to the town council, lease back to Arun on favourable terms, CAB and others. Maybe I would have thought possibly the police might want a presence there, even if it was some sort of phone system from the main office. And also you might say, could the library fit in there, or some aspect of other county services? So you have a situation where I believe that can be done with goodwill. There are people out there who are ready to do it and create a future. Now, the cost of refurbishment would be at least, I think, the cost of the selling price. So someone's got to have that money, and I believe that those people are out there. So this is allied with my idea of a new health centre on the Bognor Regis centre site, and so we'd have a civic focus area along Belmont Street. And if you look at the ideas I've got in terms of bus routes and so forth, you'll see that this would also be very useful in terms of not only the parking at that site, but also buses being diverted down Belmont Street, and also enhancing the potential of the arcade. So we'll now go down to the next one, which is the Rocks Tram, or as my family is now calling it, the Yan Tram. These are little units made in China, actually, as it goes. They come about 40,000 quid a pair. They're very low cost, obviously, to run. They're not bad price for what they are. Now, I thought of having a feature, again, in probably working with Darryl Hardy, who I know, and have a service that runs along from Esplanade and Prom, right from the Waverley right up to Butlins, and a number of them going along at the time. GPS guided and a flat fare. Now, it wouldn't take long for me to work out, if I knew the number of visitors coming here, how much that would make in a year and what profit it would probably make and pay off its initial investment. I seriously think this is something that a council could have a look at. So I'm suggesting money for that would repay itself after a while. And have it illuminated at night, decorated. These are very basic units, but you could have it decorated in various sort of fun ways, or sort of almost like Roland Emmett type sort of activity. Everyone remembers Roland Emmett, his fantastic machines. So again, they would trundle along, and it's our cheap and friendly answer to Blackpool's trams, and a lot of fun, I would have thought. Now let's move now to. This is quite a major one. I know that people wanted to do something. This is allied to the pier arcade and also the pier itself and Sheiks. Now, there is, I've talked to John Ayres about this, and he's quite willing to discuss this idea. As you know, people did want to develop the theatre heritage lottery and so forth, and it came to nothing in the end. I won't go into it. I've asked John, but I won't quote his views on it. But he is willing to talk about this again. Now, moving his operation to where Tom Elliott's lot would put their destination restaurant would actually, on a skateboard side, would actually, I think, be a very major thing. It would be a popular arcade entertainment there, and also the nightclub and other functions as well. I put it to Tom recently, wouldn't he prefer a destination restaurant to be much closer to the theatre? And he's inclined to agree with that. So you have then, John Ayres gives a peppercorn lease to a new body. I don't know who it would be. They work with the Arun Arts people as well, who've got a lot of equipment and so forth. That theatre is ready to be converted back to theatre. It's another landmark, it's another facility, and then John Ayres gets a facility which would be popular with people, and in a very good location. So that's one that I've talked to him about, and he's willing to have a meeting. So and then the Pier Theatre restored, obviously, and I think that would bring in heritage lottery money. And you've got a whole local. Now, I make a difference, by the way, between community theatre and professional theatre. I've been in community theatre. I know what it's like. I don't mean Arun Arts. I go way back to Cheltenham and its Playhouse, and we had a repertory amateur theatre there, and about 3 or 4 companies who vied to put on productions. And the little theatre I was in was the second company. We put on 1 pantomime and 3, and we did a play, amazingly, every other 6 weeks, sorry. It's quite an amazing sort of setup. Whether it goes that way now or not. But anyway, Arun Arts are well established. I have my differences with them, but they could find a very good facility there. And of course, it would also engender the regeneration of the pier in due course as well, and all sorts of things. Even a Tram running along it. Anyway, that's a bit of fun. Now, this is next thing is a thematic issue here. We've had this recent business about the Sun getting it in the ear from James over its let's go to Bognor, dear. Well, there is a thing about Bognor Regis. It is a fun thing. The Birdman encapsulates it. Let me tell you an experience I had actually as mayor. It was Jubilee year, and I actually was judging. They're judging Birdman or what the mayor was supposed to do. And we were on Discovery TV, and I was asked by this very earnest American chappie what it was about why did the British do something like Birdman? He said, you're such a serious people. And I said to him, the truth is the British are bonkers underneath. They're actually quite raving mad. That's what we are. And the issue there was highlighted for me by the wonderful moment when we ran the Panther Horse Derby, which we ran on 2 or 3 occasions. A lovely idea. I'll go back to another time. But the Panther Horse Derby, I remember a very earnest German television crew interviewing a Pancho giraffe. What on earth they made of it. I did ask a German student once who worked with the Fun Bus what comment they had on German television, and he said, Have you ever watched German sitcom? And he was the fun theme, and it could revitalise a whole series of issues here around the use of space, the outdoor events, the biggest music theatre course in the country is, of course, is at Chichester. So if you want to do musical theatre in this town, I've got the idea of a mile of comedy statues, which would people come and have a look. But also then, there would be sort of money, subscription, Arts Council funding, business sponsorship, the news centre if we get it, the Pier Theatre if it comes off, and to get towards something like a National Comedy Award, which would be, for various, a Joker Trophy, which so best stand-up, best new talent, best TV series, best quiz show, best music comedy, etc. So I think the comedy aspect could invest a whole series of aspects of regeneration over a long period of time and create an identity for Bognor. Let's play the Joker. Let's play the fun. And I understand that's a theme of a recent paper that Arun has commissioned as well, playing for fun. So let's go now to this one. I'll give down to Alison Sharples, who is a town councillor, a Marine Park Gardens Lido. She's simply put the idea to me, and I think it's worth looking at, is to take that rather, I think it's a very challenged area, the Gardens Lido. It's a very challenged area. There's, there's vandalism, there's Tram, there's all sorts of issues there. A sea-fed Lido there could actually be a very major thing. I don't know where the money comes from, and I'll be quite open about that. But it's the sort of thing that over a long period of time we might like to take a look at. It's seasonal. We know that Lidos do work. And if you go to, for instance, I went years ago to Plymouth and they had an outdoor Lido, and they actually refurbished it, and it's now far more successful than it was. That's not a bad place to put a Lido there, or at least part of it. You probably need to provide screening for the people in the to the north of it, but you'd have also it's very close to the beach, and I think it makes a safe and friendly venue, but and also would do something to liven up that part of the esplanade. So let's go down further. I'm not going to go into the outdoor arena. I know that there are people talking about it. I know one of your councillors is keen on it, and it's a possibility. And the idea of something being to the north of it. If you read the current edition of the Herald, in fact, I've got a comment there from someone who is willing and getting involved. Now, regeneration brings traffic if it's successful. If you, like me, live on Longford Road, you will have seen this picture here. I took it myself. A man stepped out. It is always an accident waiting to happen. It was caused by two-way traffic. The man just stepped out, was oblivious of it, and was taken to hospital with quite nasty injuries. My idea is to bring traffic in from the roundabout one way into town, and that might also allow herringbone parking, so you get more parking there. I've got some ideas about parking which I won't go into here, but there are ways which I think we could do some radical issues around ownership of parking space and benefit to local residents. But a one-way Longford, and obviously then it has to go out, and I'd say Town Cross Avenue is not a bad way out because it actually has very little housing on either side, and it has traffic lights already at one end. So this would ease the flow, make Longford Road a safer place, and I think deal with the incoming traffic, which we hope regeneration will push, will stimulate. And similarly, close the East High Street to all traffic, divert buses via Belmont Street. By the way, these two ideas I discussed some time ago, and more recently with Matt Davey, the transport highways guy for West Sussex, and he says it's all discussable or it is all doable. So if you've got to revive Belmont Street, as it were, and you want people to take advantage of the facilities there and to use buses as opposed to cars, then the buses down there would also enhance the arcade as well. Of course, people going through, and people also coming, down from the town could get buses out. So that's one. It has worked. We have had buses diverted down and pedestrianised the west side of Waterloo Square, because that seems to me to be a clear walk from the Sunken Gardens to the seafront. Now, moving the medical centre, and this is a big one for me. It's quite some months ago, in fact, more a couple of years ago, I think. I was talking to the commercial manager of the Bognor Regis Health Centre, Mike, and I brokered the meeting with him and actually Tom Elliott. And there was a very clear interest by Mike to move to a new purpose-fitted centre, because that centre they got it's horrible, and also I gather they're charged an arm and a leg by the health service people, who don't seem to be worried about them moving. So the developer and the NHS would fund that, if you want to know where it is. But of course, that gives us also the chance, I would have thought, at the Regis Centre for some facilities there to be sort of related to health in terms of complementary sort of health. So that's a very big goer, and I think it would release land obviously at Hothampton. The Asunken Gardens. Now, as you know, this goes back to Arun's looking at this, but an electors' meeting throughout what I call the linear lawn, and that was the end of that particular thing. The improvement, which would be funded, I hope, from what goes on Hothampton and the Regis Centre, would involve extension to the boundary with Hatters. Now, Hatters runs menus for families up to 7 o'clock at night, and if they actually had an entrance onto the park, onto the gardens, it would make a lot of sense to me. But also to have private investment paying for that upgrade of Hothampton, and that money is there. I'm not going to go into it, but the money is there, and Arun doesn't have to spend its own money on it. You would enhance it. One thing I would say, I don't believe it is a good idea, however, to put anything like a dome or anything onto any part of Hothampton Gardens. It's open green space. We need to extend it, and I believe that is possible. So let's go down to galloping through this. Just about social housing. It seems to me that housing is going to come back more and more into the town, and we need a balance. Now, if we have sense and we get some student accommodation in various places, then that student accommodation is needed. Then obviously, if you've got sort of stuff like sort of regeneration, sort of upper end of the market, you really have got to do something about social housing. The Covers site has been looked at. I think it would be very interesting to talk to the Green family. There is that lovely brick building along Spencer Street, and you might like to retain that for community use. But anyway, that's it. Right, now this is perhaps some which I didn't mean to do, but I've been thinking about this. Project Sunrise repurposed. Well, we all know, you will be told what Project Sunrise has. What I've analysed is that there seems to me the Sunrise thing says we've got two sites, they're interwoven. There's cross-subsidy. What I understand that Arun's been doing up to now is looking at the different sites separately, with very little in the way of cross-subsidy, if any at all. Now, this is a backstop. I think the Sunrise one is the one to go for, but it did occur to me that on the Sunrise project, there's a huge amount of open space at the Regis Centre facing Belmont Street. Well, what on earth is the use of that? And so maybe the theatre could go there, if you're not inclined to like a theatre centre on Hothampton. But the late Ian Harding, for instance, the respected Liberal Democrat councillor who knew a lot about theatre and entertainment, always argued with me, and he said that Hothampton was a better site. Over the years, I've moved into that. The visitor market is very different. The day trip market is very different to the possibility of people coming in for entertainment in the evening, and for that purpose. They're two different streams. Although you might say those who go to the theatre and stay over in new hotels or go to Butlins will then come out and use the seafront facilities as well. So that's my particular sort of view there. That I think personally that
we have 5 minutes left.
Right, thank you. That would create money issues and so forth, and obviously they put a lot of money in. But there's the idea. It's possible, and it does, in a sense, recreate a Cursal sort of arts Rex, Theatre Royal situation. Well, I think that's me actually. We can do a lot of these things. I've thrown these in as I say, many of them ancillary ideas, but I'm quite happy to have a discussion about the general issues around regeneration, for which I have some very clear views, and about the principles. I think this is a time when Bognor can and should go ahead, take the lead now, and this is I've picked up. This is a time when investors are looking. And they're looking at Bognor, and this is good news. They could take their money elsewhere, and would if we didn't help, if we didn't sort of pick it up. They're looking. The investors are looking there. There is money out there, and I think it's time for us now to sort of grasp the nettle and make this town somewhere which is fun to come to and which you will want to come to again and again. Anyway, that's my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Cosgrove. Sue, can you end the presentation?
No.
So,
Here I am.
obviously, if members want to ask questions of Mr. Cosgrove, if you could show that with the normal way with your raised hands. So the first one I've got is Councillor Dixon, then followed by Councillor Dr. Walsh. So, Councillor Dixon.
Jan, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you,
Much
Tony.
appreciated, and for your enthusiasm for regeneration of the town, which we all share. I want to ask you a question about the health centre. I understand that you're proposing to relocate that and free up that site, which has merit. But where are you proposing to put it? I wasn't quite sure. Were you suggesting it should be in the town hall?
No, it would be on the Regis Centre site, on the Belmont Street end. Now I've talked to Tom Elliott about this, and he and these Mike at the health centre. That was what they were looking at. This might need a change in planning permission. I don't know, but there is an issue there, a synergy with having with the town hall as civic centre. Civic hub, we could call it, community hub, and having it there. My drawing there does suggest a repurposed situation might provide for that, but there are other places it could go on that development. That's what I'm aware of. But you really have to take that up in subsequent negotiations. I would have thought with health centre people and whoever else would be willing to fund that. Now what I can tell you, there was a very considerable enthusiasm at the health centre end. I didn't know how well it would go. And once we sat round the table, he was mustard about it. It's very keen. I thought I hope between us, but very keen to get away from the NHS property people who seem to be charging an arm and a leg. And it's not the happiest place. Although I will pay huge tribute, having had my jab the other day, to the way they use the upper floors and put all us oldies through the system. It was excellently done, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Councillor Dr. James Walsh.
James, yes.
Thanks very much, Carl. Thanks, Jan, for the presentation. Very all-encompassing, and there's a huge lot in there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You kept referring throughout it at different points to cross-subsidy, one way or the other, or both ways.
Yeah.
But cross-subsidy effectively means that the regeneration proposals are paid for out of new flats development, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so how many flats do you think you're talking about? Because what you've talked about, I can't do the maths, but it seems to me to stack up to a great deal of money we're talking about multi-millions.
Yes. Well,
So how many will have to be built to pay for that?
Well, that is actually, as you know, one of the issues here. You either go for piecemeal redevelopment of the town of those two sites and get a modest return, or you go for but let me just tell you to answer this why I've changed my mind about flats on the Regis Centre. I used to share the idea of no flats at all, but that's when you go to any other seaside place, you will find entertainment, as I've been to, was looked at the ground floor level. No one worries too much about what's up there. So that's already inherent in seaside resorts. We are looking at something that was either you would put the flats on Northampton, luxury flats, or they would be luxury flats, not the sort of cheap flats. You'd need to attract people or to that site. That was why I was looking at enhancing Northampton and pedestrianising that part of Waterloo Square, and obviously a refurbished pier. So that's a very, very, very nice sort of view. If not, and then the cross subsidy can come from flats above ground floor level in the Regis Centre. Now, how many it would take? And of course, once that money starts to come in, James, you know very well that will attract other money for other things. So if people are willing to put their £90 million in, which is what Tom's lot are doing, or anyone else is coming with their schemes, they will be looking at what that will draw in as well. And in your terms, what public money could be drawn in. I take the pier, for instance. If John Ayres releases the pier on a peppercorn lease, that releases the possibility of £5-6 million coming in from Heritage. Now, he's got to be recompensed for that, so there's a deal to be done there. But do you see where I'm coming from? This isn't just money coming in from private sources. It's coming, or just one private source. Once you start, then the ball begins to roll. And that's what the investor guy told me when I was talking to him. This is what they want to put money into places. Now, Bognor's not the only one. That's the other thing I think we've got to recognise. But I think we've got a chance to be a good step ahead. Because other people are nowhere near where we are. Anyway, does that answer where you're coming?
He didn't give me a number, but he did confirm that it was flats-led, development-led. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, it is, James, and I've changed my mind on that because in the real world, some stack up. And
fine, anybody's allowed to change their mind. I don't hold that against you.
No, I have rationale for it. And I actually listened also to one of your late colleagues, that was Ian Harding, who told me very firmly you don't put theatres today, new theatres and centres where we've got the theatre now. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. So my next two members with questions is first of all Councillor Matt Stanley, and then it's Councillor Goodhart. So Councillor Stanley.
Hi, Matt.
Thank you, Carl. And thank you, Jan, for the presentation. I'd just be interested with a bit more detail, really, around the pier, because the pier's been a conversation that many people have had. A situation many people have had conversations with around the pier. So I'd just be interested in understanding, I guess, why now that has potentially become a possibility when it's been a bit of a closed door to many other people.
Can we just be between closed walls here? It was personalities that was an issue. I have to. That's what I'm picking up. John Ayres is who he is, and there are other people in the other set up. All I went to him was very openly. I've never talked to him before, and said, "Look, you've got an issue here. You've got ownership. You've got issues around maintenance, but also there is this possibility." And I said no more than that, of the site down at the skate park. There's a possibility there that if that went through, would you like to sit down and talk to Arun and the people who would build that restaurant, who might not want that restaurant there because it's not what I think they originally wanted to do anyway. The restaurant got added on as an afterthought. So the destination restaurant would probably be better somewhere else. So that's where it came about. It was him looking at the possibility of a new venue for his activities, which are well established. They fund themselves. They make him a profit, and he then has the possibility that his property is then actually invested in with public money. And I think it's as simple as that.
So, just kind of summarising, what you're saying is through conversation with him, he'd essentially be prepared to switch the pier for the Esplanade Theatre signs.
I think he'd be prepared to talk about it. No more than that. No more than that. But when I said peppercorn lease to the pier people, he didn't, the people who would take it over, and Arun Arts would no doubt be in there with them because they're the obvious people to look at running it. Because I think, as I said, community theatre is very different to professional theatre, and we can have both in town. They have different market, different audience. So I think he's inclined to look at it, and I'm certainly prepared to take that conversation. In fact, I will be taking that conversation further and sharing the results of it and see where we get. And obviously, what you guys decide to do with that site is very, very important. Now, you've got someone with planning permission there, but already on that. So, what's the mechanism to get that to move? And
Well, yeah, I mean, I think no disrespect, but we've spoken over the few evenings about there's people who have suggested they can do other bits and pieces, and we've just had a very interesting presentation which didn't include the Esplanade Theatre site. So, clearly, if the conversation is, the rest of the setup really is irrelevant if we're just talking about the pier and the Esplanade Theatre site. Mm. If that's something that could be done outside of everything else,
it's a conversation you could have. But then you bear in mind that that one of the contenders possibly may I can't speak for them, but may not be too worried about losing the destination restaurant, because that might be would make more sense in the context of a modern sort of entertainment centre.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Goodhart.
Hi, Steve.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, really interesting to hear. Again, I'm using the term dreams. It's great. Without dreams, you're not going to get anything. I've got a couple of questions, and I hopefully you'll be able to answer.
Mm.
You referred to the town hall, and when you were opening up your comments on the town hall, you mentioned that you had conversations with a interested party who was looking to make a offer for the town hall, and then to arrange a lease back for the usage of the town hall for the local authorities, i.e. the town council and potentially Arun.
And potentially West Sussex too.
Is there any way that you would be able to bring your contact to the table so that the management...
Answer is yes. Answer is yes, Steve, and I believe they may have already have contacted the council. That I believe has happened. It went nowhere, but it does have wheels on it. I'm pretty certain of that.
Okay. My second question is in regards to your wonderful idea of a national comedy centre located in Bognor. Have you carried out any investigations into such a centre and how it would come about, and how much support it would give within the industry of comedy?
That's interesting. But I very little on that. I did have a way back have a discussion, fun enough, with the bloke who wanted we'll all remember him, his museum at Knotty Ash. I did have a conversation with Ken Dodd, but years back, and he said he thought that if he wasn't doing Knotty Ash, he would be down here trying to do something like that, because he said Bognor's got the image and the reputation. What he felt it needed was an investment with a sort of place that would bring big acts and stars down. And he said, given its location, and its climate, he seemed to know quite a lot about it. He was a very professional gent. I thought very highly of him, although he fiddled his taxes and whatever, or allegedly. So I think the National Centre and the idea of the Joker being played as an award, you know. And when Nicholas, what's his name, comes on, Del Boy says, Rodney, you plonker, because you've got a, you know, there's a whole series of things there. Well, the mile of statues of famous comedians, comedy doubles, and stuff. That was something people would come to look at. You know, that's.
So there is opportunities to develop that.
Yeah, let me just tell you one other thing. Funnily enough, if you remember, Steve Emk years ago and I had 3 goes at Bognor as the idea of a national panther horse derby and a Ugly Sisters 3-legged race. It went down very well. What I got from the theatre industry is that they wouldn't like to send their own theatre costumes and so forth. If you could build up the theatre costumes then, just at that time of year when you would hold it, that is a time when they're just going to start their autumn push for the Christmas productions. So it provides them with a very watchable Christmas sort of late autumn thing to preface the panto scene. So this is another event that could be held. There were all sorts of things we thought up for doing that. I mean, the rule for the Pantor's the Panto Dame 3-legged race, the Ugly Sisters, was the only rule was cheat miserably, which I think is very good. You've got to have fun. Yes, go on.
That sounds fabulous. I've got one more question, which is regards to you made comments in regards to a one-way system for Bognor, which I've been trying to raise the issue for so many years because of the problems with the traffic flow within the town.
Absolutely.
And I would ask if you've had a positive response from your conversations with West Sussex Highways.
Yeah, Matt Davey.
And the continuation of the same conversation, I'm assuming.
Yep.
In regards to closing the East High Street.
Both of those, and I recontacted him not so long ago, having contacted say about 3-4 years ago. He was very keen. Matt Davies' name is very nice. I walked it with him, and he said, "There's no reason this shouldn't happen."
Thank you, Carl.
Okay, so I think next I've got Councillor Costa.
Good evening, Hugh.
Thank you, Carl. Evening, Jan. Thank you for your thoughts, which were very interesting. With regard to the pier, I'm not surprised that John Ayres might want to move out to somewhere else, because, of course, what is being faced there is a massive maintenance bill.
Yes, I know.
Massive maintenance bill to ensure that the whole thing doesn't fall down quite soon. And I just wonder if you've asked anybody as to whether they actually would want to take it on, peppercorn lease or not, because the massive maintenance bill will run into millions.
Well,
and what makes you think that anybody would want to take that liability on?
Well, the first thing you have to ask is what John Ayres told me, because I said about the maintenance bill, he said that's well in hand. That was an interesting comment. Because I said, surely this is attractive. That's not why it attracts him. He said it's well in hand, but it needs continuing. So it's actually doing something with the pier more than it is in its truncated form. That's what I'm looking at. Now, if people were prepared to go to the Heritage Lottery, and Heritage Lottery were interested, and it was moving forward, and it was, if they're prepared to do that, there's no reason why that shouldn't open again. You simply have to learn the lessons of why it didn't happen. And I think there was a lot of misunderstanding and so forth. So I think it's worth another go. And for what it's worth, if it does then lead to what I'm hoping, it was worth 5 million, which is 5 million. It was worth a further conversation on a rather different basis to what I think was originally intended, which he would stay there. If he doesn't want to stay there and has got a new venue, then the problem he's handing over to someone else. But they will have a very different sort of way of going about it. And I can see investment happening there. Look, I think it's a question of sitting down and restarting the conversation. That pier is either going to make a future for itself, or it will remain a liability. And that's what I say where we start the conversation. I'd like to see it as an asset. I'd like to see it rebuilt out. and new features put in it. As I said, even a Yan tram running down up and down it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Yan tram would actually pay for that, because that's literally millions and millions. And
no.
So I think you'd have to go a good few many miles with the Yan tram.
No. The Yan tram is not a tram. It is linked cars. They're 40 grand a pair, and you know it's a GPS guide. I would have put this to our university tech people and see what good old British solution, low cost solution they could come up with. And with the sunshine we have here and the wind, I shall suspect that the running costs could be kept down by using solar and wind power to run it. So you've got a number of units there. It's not a tram. It's a bit.
I wasn't actually asking about the tram, yeah, and I was asking about the money as to who on earth would take on that liability. And of course, as we know, the Heritage Lottery Fund.
Oh, I see.
Not to give money to private enterprises,
no,
which is privately owned, of course, by John Ayres.
Yeah, so that's why you have the
Somebody would take you on.
It's a peppercorn lease issue.
That simply wouldn't work, yeah.
Well, look, you and I will take a different view, and I think it's I think it's worth a stab at it to see. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong. You know, it's sort of part and parcel. I'm right sometimes, I'm wrong others. So, but I'd like to see it given a chance.
Okay, I'm conscious of the time, so we're going to finish with the last two questions that I've got from members, because I don't see any other hands going up. So I've got Councillor Blanchard Cooper first, and then Councillor Brooks. So Councillor Blanchard Cooper.
Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Bill.
So I believe that in the presentation, one of the my internet's a bit iffy at the moment. One of the suggestions was that Bognor Regis becomes the national centre for comedy.
Yep.
Which, in essence, I love the idea. Huge fan of comedy of all types. My question is, what investigation or research have you done into the viability of such a proposal? I'm thinking that there's places such as Blackpool, where they've got a huge history of various different types of comedians, and they've even had a very large area done at the bottom of the Blackpool Tower, where they've got quotes from various different comedians.
Oh, yeah.
What I'd like to know is, have you done that research to find out if this is feasible? How you go about that, making it that it is Bognor that is actually the centre for this, and what claims. I'm not saying go into every single claim for tonight, but has Bognor got enough claims for that title, rather than another town trying to claim it, and how you'd officially claim it so that it has got the national recognition?
Number one, you go for it. I mean, how did we claim Birdman and sort of lost it? We claimed it by getting it moving. It came from Celsius and we developed it.
Sorry, Mr. Cosgrove, you've gone very quiet.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better, yeah.
Yeah, so my mic just slipped. It's going for it. Actually saying we're going to make this pitch. No one else has done it so far. And it's looking at some of the facilities we have here. If we have a new theatre, that's one thing. That theatre cannot be a festival theatre. It has to be totally different. It has to do conferences, entertainment, musicals, stuff like that. And I would have thought it would be quite possible to create a link with the West End to bring musicals here. You've got, as I said, the biggest music theatre course in the country. And a lot of, therefore, talent that will go to the West End. That sort of issue, it gives us some sort of start. It's about the future, about new talent. And I would have thought that if Blackpool was going to make that claim, we could have made it. It hasn't. I think it's us making the claim and building a viable development scheme to do that. Therefore, to have the venues, it's not just the big venues, it's how you repurpose your pubs and other places where you can bring, it's your outdoor events. It's a thematic thing. And it's got a regeneration value in the sense that it brings people, it draws their attention to the town. Are we going to go to such and such? Are we going to go to Bognor for this or for that? or is television going to come here? If German television can come and look at a Panther horse derby and a Panther giraffe, I should think we can attract anyone. And that was an interesting point. Discovery had picked up this event and asked me why we did it. And I gave them a perfectly good answer, because we're all barking mad. And that the Lord Mayor of Melbourne was sort of had sent a contestant and stuff like that. This has made good sense. And when you've seen, for instance, on the Panther Horse Derby, or on the Ugly Sisters race, two very butch males kicking the hell out of each other with handbags because they were all dressed up, basically, because they tripped over each other. I just thought it was a wonderful, wonderful piece of street comedy. And it said, when the British let the hair down, come for the fun. Come for the enjoyment. Come for people being what they wouldn't normally be, and letting their hair down. And I think that's what we need to do with Bognor. Let our hair down. Let the country let its hair down. Goodness sake, at this time, particularly. You know, that was my pitch there on that. I firmly believe Bognor should play to its joke, and to the Joker.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, last but by no means least, Councillor Brooks.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you, Carl. Hello, Jan. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I mean, this exercise has been very good, I think, particularly for new councillors, to hear some of these things, these ideas that have some around for a long time. Into my question, my ears did perk up when you mentioned the pier and sheiks. As you know, I was the designer and built the first sheiks, and we were very careful then. We designed it as a desert evening because that allowed us to use tents so that we could cover over the lovely cherub balconies and basically preserve it as a theatre in case it was ever wanted to be used again. So I think in raising all those points between the pier, you will know also that I was on the Pier Trust, and
Yes.
we were being fast-tracked for £5 million.
Yep.
But that was for the superstructure alone, really. There would still have to be a considerable investment into what's gone on atop. But my question is, which I do agree, you mentioned the road system and the one-way and the Longford Road and that. I do believe that as part of genuine regeneration, we have to look at the appalling way that our traffic is routed. And my question is basically, will you perhaps make sure you give us some written plan, even back at the some more details about your plans for that?
I have some
following this meeting.
I have some amazing stuff. I couldn't tell you here, but I think there's some very interesting radical proposals about parking as well, but also about how that we would well, no, that I'll leave it there. There are some very radical ideas.
Thank you. Let's see them.
Good. Right. I think that's everybody. So thank you very much, Mr. Cosgrove, for your presentation tonight and being prepared to answer the questions from members. One of the things that I've asked all the presenters to do, and I will be asking the remaining presenters to do, is if you would like to provide us with a maximum of a 4-page summary of your ideas, then what we would propose to do is include that as an annex to the report that's going to full council to consider what happens next. So if you'd like to provide us with that at your as soon as possible. Really,
I will. What I would do, Carl, to cut that, is I would take the presentation, take the pickies out, and reduce the type size. How about that, and get it down?
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'll let you disappear now, and then I'll just quickly talk to the members that are still there.
A bottle of Beaujolais, I think, is on now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.